Picture this: a world so meticulously ordered that even the dust seems to settle in straight lines. And yet, beneath it all, there's a tremor I can't quite name. My name is Celeste, and at 34, I've built a life that looks like a polished trophy from the outside. A marriage, a career, a routine so tight it could choke you if you let it. I live in a high-rise apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows that frame the city like a painting. But most nights, I'm the only one staring out at the flickering lights. My husband, Jason, is a good man. Kind in the way that feels like a quiet habit rather than a burning passion. He works in finance, always chasing the next deal, which means he's often halfway across the country while I'm left with the echo of our empty home. I don't resent him for it, not exactly. But those long evenings alone carve out a space in my chest, a hollow I can't seem to fill. My days, though, are anything but empty. I work at a prestigious law firm, a place that feels more like a fortress than an office. The walls are cold and gray, as if they've absorbed every ounce of warmth that might have once existed here. Glass doors line the hallways, reflecting every move, every glance, like we're all under constant surveillance. The air is heavy with the weight of towering stacks of legal documents, piled so high they seem to suffocate the space around them. It's a place where silence reigns supreme, broken only by the occasional click of a keyboard or the murmur of a hushed conversation. Every word is measured, every step calculated. You don't survive here unless you're willing to play the game, and I've been playing it for years. I'm not alone in this battlefield, though. I have Noah and Ethan, my two closest colleagues, who've been by my side through the kind of grueling cases that strip you down to your rawest edges. We've spent countless late nights hunched over conference tables, fueled by black coffee and sheer stubbornness, unraveling legal knots that seemed impossible to untie. Noah is the one who lights up a room without even trying. He's got this effortless charisma, a sharp wit that cuts through the tension like a knife, and piercing blue eyes that seem to see right through you. He's the kind of person who can make a joke in the middle of a crisis and somehow make you believe everything's going to be okay. Then there's Ethan, the quiet storm. He doesn't say much, but when he does, you listen. There's an intensity to him, a steady gaze that feels like it's always searching for something. I've noticed how he lingers near me during meetings, standing just a little closer than necessary, his presence a quiet weight I can't ignore. The three of us, we've got a dynamic that's hard to pin down. On the surface, it's professional. Polished handshakes, curt nods, and carefully worded discussions. But beneath that veneer, there's something else simmering. Something I can't quite put my finger on yet. My days at the firm start early, before the sun even thinks about rising over the city skyline. I'm usually the first one in, my heels clicking sharply against the marble floor of the lobby, the sound echoing in the empty space like a metronome counting down to the chaos of the day. The elevator ride up to the 42nd floor is a quiet ritual, a moment of stillness before the storm. When I step into the office, the hum of the coffee machine is already there to greet me, a low drone that feels like the heartbeat of this place. I settle at my desk, the glow of my computer screen casting pale light across my hands as I dive into the endless stream of emails, client demands, court updates, urgent memos. It's a deluge that never stops, and I've learned to swim in it, even if some days I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water. The interactions with Noah and Ethan are the undercurrent that pulls at me throughout the day. This morning, Noah came by with a file for the upcoming deposition, brushing past me as he handed it over. His fingers grazed mine, lingering just a fraction of a second longer than necessary, and I caught the faintest smirk on his lips before he turned away. It's the kind of moment that could be nothing, just a fleeting accident. But lately, these accidents feel more like choreography. My heart stuttered in my chest, and I had to force myself to focus on the papers in front of me, pretending I didn't notice the warmth where his touch had been. Then there was Ethan, later in the afternoon, during a review of a contract for a high-profile client. He leaned over my shoulder to point out a clause buried in the fine print, his voice low and steady as he explained the implications. I could feel the heat of his breath against my neck, a subtle intrusion that sent a shiver down my spine. I nodded, muttering something about double-checking the wording, but my mind was elsewhere, caught in the proximity of him, the way his presence seems to fill the space around me, even when he's silent. These moments, they used to be incidental, easy to brush off as part of the close quarters we work in. But now, I can't help but wonder if there's intent behind them. Each glance, each touch, feels like a question I don't know how to answer. And every time it happens, my pulse quickens, a traitor to the calm I try so hard to maintain. I catch myself watching them when I think they're not looking. Noah's easy grin as he talks to a paralegal, Ethan's furrowed brow as he pores over a case file. I don't know what I'm searching for in those stolen glances, but I can't seem to stop. At home, the contrast is stark. I had a brief call with Jason today, his voice crackling through the line from some hotel room. It's well past midnight now, and the office is a different beast in the dark. The usual hum of activity is gone, replaced by a silence so thick it feels like it's pressing against my skin. I'm still here, hunched over my desk, the only light coming from a single desk lamp that casts long, jagged shadows across the scattered papers in front of me. The hallway beyond my office door is dimly lit by flickering fluorescent lights, their erratic buzz the only sound breaking the stillness. It's eerie, almost, how empty this place feels when the rest of the world is asleep. The fortress of the firm, usually so imposing, seems vulnerable in these quiet hours, like it's holding its breath, waiting for something to shatter the calm. I'm not alone, though. Noah and Ethan are here, too, the three of us grinding through a case that's due in court next week. We've been at it for hours, the kind of marathon session that blurs the line between exhaustion and adrenaline. My eyes burn from staring at fine print, and my coffee cup sits cold and forgotten on the edge of the desk. I'm about to suggest we call it a night when Ethan's voice cuts through the silence, low and deliberate, almost a whisper. What if this isn't just about work? My head snaps up, and I meet his gaze across the desk. There's something in his eyes, a glint of something dangerous, something I've seen hints of before but never quite like this. My stomach twists, a mix of dread and something I don't want to name. Before I can respond, Noah leans back in his chair, his tone suggestive, a slow drawl that sends a shiver down my spine. We don't have to just share cases, Celeste. The air in the room shifts, heavy with the weight of their words. My mind races, a chaotic storm of thoughts crashing into each other. I think of Jason, his steady voice over the phone just hours ago, the way he always checks in even when he's miles away. I feel the weight of my wedding ring on my finger, a cold, constant reminder of promises made. But there's something else too, a thrill, sharp and electric, sparked by their words, by the way they're looking at me now, like I'm not just a colleague, not just a name on a case file. I've spent years building walls around myself, keeping everything in its place. But in this moment, those walls feel like they're made of paper, ready to tear at the slightest touch. I should say something, should stop this before it goes any further. But I don't. Instead, I feel myself leaning into the tension, drawn to it like a moth to flame. And then it happens. The line I've been tiptoeing around for weeks, maybe months, vanishes entirely. It's not a slow unraveling. It's a sudden, reckless plunge. I'm on the desk before I can think better of it, the wood creaking under my weight as papers scatter to the floor. The glow of the desk lamp catches Noah's face, his blue eyes dark with intent, and Ethan's, his usually steady gaze now burning with something raw and unguarded. Their movements are almost synchronized, like they've been waiting for this, like they knew I'd break before I did. My breath comes in sharp, uneven gasps, my body responding in ways my mind can't keep up with. For the first time in years, I'm not thinking about tomorrow, not calculating the next move. I'm just here, in this moment, surrendering to something I didn't even know I craved. It feels like I belong only to myself, like I've shed every expectation, every role I've ever played, and what's left is just me, unbound, untamed. It's over as quickly as it began, the intensity giving way to a heavy, stunned silence. The three of us are left adjusting clothes, smoothing out wrinkles, avoiding each other's eyes, as the reality of what just happened crashes over me like a wave. My heart is still pounding, but now it's not just from the rush. It's from the weight of what I've done. The desk beneath me feels cold now. I wake up the next morning with a heaviness in my limbs, as if my body is still carrying the weight of last night. There's a strange cocktail of exhilaration and dread churning in my chest, making it hard to breathe deeply. The memory of what happened in the office clings to me like a second skin, vivid and unshakable. I can still feel the creak of the desk, the heat of their proximity, the way everything spiraled out of control in a matter of moments. My mind is a battlefield, torn between the thrill of letting go and the gnawing guilt that's already started to settle in. I glance at the empty side of the bed where Jason should be, and my stomach twists. He's miles away, oblivious, and yet I feel like his absence is a silent accusation. I force myself to get up, to move through the motions of the morning, shower, coffee, the mechanical act of getting dressed. But every action feels hollow, like I'm watching myself from a distance. I head to the office earlier than usual, long before the sun has fully risen, driven by some unspoken need to face the scene of the crime. The elevator ride up to the 42nd floor is suffocating today, the mirrored walls reflecting a version of myself I don't recognize. My eyes are shadowed, my jaw tight, and I wonder if anyone else will see it, the change, the fracture in the facade I've worked so hard to maintain. When I step into the office, it's eerily quiet, the kind of stillness that amplifies every thought. I make my way to my desk, the same one from last night, and sit down slowly, almost reverently. My fingers trace the scratches on the wood, faint marks that weren't there before, and I'm pulled back into the memory with a force that steals my breath. I can see it all again. Noah's intense gaze, Ethan's quiet ferocity, the way the dim light carved shadows across their faces. My heart races as I replay every detail, every reckless decision, and I'm not sure if I'm reliving it out of desire or punishment. Maybe both. The silence of the empty office is a double-edged sword. It gives me space to think, but it also leaves me vulnerable to the paranoia that's creeping in. Every sound, the hum of the air conditioning, the distant creak of a door, even the faint rustle of my own movements, makes me jump. I keep glancing toward the hallway, half expecting to see Noah or Ethan appear, their expressions unreadable. Will they act like nothing happened? Will there be a knowing look? A silent acknowledgement of the line we crossed? I don't know what's worse, the idea of confronting it or the thought of pretending it never happened at all. My hands tremble slightly as I grip my coffee mug, the warmth doing little to steady me. I check my phone obsessively, my thumb hovering over the screen as if a message might appear at any second. I'm not even sure what I'm waiting for, but there's a part of me that's terrified Jason will somehow know. It's irrational. He's hundreds of miles away, buried in his own world of deals and meetings. But the fear is there, sharp and persistent. What if he senses something in my voice the next time we talk? What if I've left some invisible trace of last night on me? Something he'll pick up on the moment he's back? I scroll through our last few texts, mundane exchanges about travel schedules and quick check-ins, and I feel a pang of something I can't name. Guilt, maybe, or loss. Time drags on, each minute stretching into eternity, until I hear the faint ding of the elevator in the distance. My pulse spikes, and I sit up straighter, trying to look busy as footsteps echo down the hallway. It's them, Noah and Ethan, arriving together, their voices low as they approach. I keep my eyes glued to my computer screen, pretending to be engrossed in an email, but I'm hyper-aware of every move they make. Noah walks past first, offering a smile that feels forced, like it's painted on for show. There's no trace of his usual easy charm, and that forced smile of Noah's lingers in my mind as I sit there, my fingers frozen over the keyboard. I can feel Ethan's presence too, a quiet shadow as he moves to his own desk without a word. The tension in the air is suffocating, a silent acknowledgement of the storm we unleashed last night. I want to say something, to break this unbearable stillness, but my throat feels tight, like the words are trapped behind a wall I can't climb over. Instead, I keep my gaze fixed on the screen, the blur of text meaningless as my thoughts spiral out of control. Then, my phone buzzes on the desk, the sound sharp and jarring in the quiet. My heart lurches as I glance at the screen. Jason's name lights up, a simple text asking how my morning's going. It's so ordinary, so unaware, and yet it feels like a punch to the gut. My fingers tremble as I pick up the phone, the weight of it suddenly unbearable. I stare at his message, my thumb hovering over the reply button, typing out a quick, "Fine, busy as usual," before deleting it just as fast. I try again, something more personal. "Miss you, can't wait to see you." But that feels like a lie too, and I erase it with a shaky breath. What can I even say to him right now? How do I pretend everything's normal when I'm drowning in the aftermath of a choice I can't undo? I need to get away from this desk, from the weight of their presence, from the memories etched into every inch of this space. I slip my phone into my pocket and stand, murmuring something about needing a break as I head toward a quieter corner of the office. A small alcove near the back where the coffee machine hums softly and the windows look out over the waking city. I lean against the wall, closing my eyes for a moment, trying to steady the chaos in my chest. But closing my eyes only makes it worse. My mind floods with thoughts of Jason, of the life we've built together over the years. I think about the early days, when every moment with him felt like a discovery. The way he'd laugh at my terrible cooking attempts or pull me close during late-night movies. But somewhere along the way, that spark dimmed. Our conversations became checklists, bills, schedules, his next trip. I felt invisible for so long, like I'm just part of the background in his world, a fixture he expects to be there without really seeing me. And then there's last night. The memory crashes over me again, unbidden, but this time it's not just guilt or shame. It's the rush, the way Noah and Ethan looked at me, not as a colleague or a name on a brief, but as someone worth wanting. For the first time in years, I felt seen, desired, alive in a way I'd forgotten was possible. I can still picture that moment under the lamplight, the three of us caught in a bubble of reckless abandon. I remember the way the light caught the edge of Noah's jaw, the intensity in Ethan's eyes as he reached for me, the way my own heartbeat seemed to echo in the silence. I don't feel regret for it, not entirely. There's a strange sense of ownership in that memory, like I claimed something for myself after years of giving pieces of me away. I made that choice, however impulsive, however dangerous, and in that fleeting moment, I was more than just the roles I play. Wife, lawyer, dependable Celeste. But now, in the harsh light of morning, I'm left with the wreckage of that decision. I pull my phone out again, staring at Jason's text, the cursor blinking expectantly in the reply box. I could tell him everything, let the truth spill out and shatter the fragile balance we've maintained. Or I could bury it, pretend it never happened, and go back to the routine that's been slowly suffocating me. Neither option feels right. My chest tightens with the weight of it all, and I decide not to reply. Not yet. I need time to figure out what I even want to say, to understand what I'm feeling before I force myself to return to my desk, the weight of the day pressing down on me like a physical thing. The office is buzzing now, filled with the usual hum of activity. Phones ringing, keyboards clacking, the occasional murmur of a conversation drifting through the open space. But it all feels distant, like I'm underwater, hearing everything through a muffled haze. I sit down and try to focus, pulling a stack of files toward me with mechanical precision. I flip through the pages, my eyes scanning words that don't register, my hands moving on autopilot as I sort and organize, trying to anchor myself in the mundane. Every now and then, I catch a glimpse of Noah across the room, his head bent over his own work, or Ethan passing by with a clipboard, his expression unreadable. I make a point to avoid their gazes, keeping my head down, my movements deliberate, as if I can rebuild the walls between us with every carefully placed paper. I answer emails with curt, professional responses, my fingers tapping out replies faster than necessary, as if speed can outrun the thoughts crowding my mind. I don't linger on any one task too long, jumping from one to the next, signing off on a memo, scheduling a client call, double-checking a court filing. It's a performance, a desperate attempt to reclaim some semblance of control, to prove to myself that I'm still the same Celeste who walked into this office yesterday morning. But every time I pause, even for a second, the undercurrent of what happened pulls at me. A silent tide of secrets shared between me, Noah, and Ethan. I can feel it in the air, a tension that no amount of busy work can erase. I wonder if they feel it too, or if they've already compartmentalized it, tucked it away behind their own facades of normalcy. The day drags on, each hour a slow grind, until the clock finally ticks past 5. I gather my things with a quiet efficiency, slipping my laptop into my bag, straightening my desk one last time. I don't say goodbye to anyone, not even a casual wave, just a quick nod to a passing colleague as I head for the elevator. The ride down to the lobby feels endless, the mirrored walls reflecting my tense expression back at me, a reminder of how little I've managed to hide. When I step outside, the city air hits me like a slap, sharp and cold, a stark contrast to the stifling atmosphere of the office. I walk to my car in the parking garage, my heels echoing against the concrete, each step a countdown to solitude. Driving home, the silence in the car is deafening, a void that amplifies every thought I've been trying to suppress. There's no radio, no podcast, just the hum of the engine and the rhythmic thump of tires against asphalt. My hands grip the steering wheel a little too tightly, my knuckles pale under the strain. The city blurs past me, neon signs, brake lights, the endless stream of evening traffic. But I barely notice. My mind keeps circling back to last night, to the way everything shifted in an instant, and to Jason's text, still unanswered on my phone. I think about what I'd say if I could be honest, if I could strip away the layers of pretense and just lay it all bare. But the words don't come, not even in my head. They're tangled up with guilt and desire and a dozen other things I can't name. When I pull into the underground parking of my building, the quiet of the empty space feels like an extension of the car's silence. I take the elevator up to my floor, the familiar ding sounding hollow as the doors slide open. Walking into my apartment, the emptiness hits me harder than I expect. Jason's absence is a presence in itself, lingering in the untouched coffee mug on the counter, the neatly folded throw blanket on the couch, the stillness that fills every corner. I drop my bag by the door and kick off my shoes, the sound of them hitting the floor louder than it should be. I don't bother turning on more than a single lamp, letting the dim light cast long shadows across the room as I sink onto the couch, my body heavy with the weight of the day's burdens. But as I close my eyes, the familiar scent of lavender from the nearby candle begins to soothe my weary mind, promising a night of much-needed rest. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.